Good morning. We're doing 25 real estate tips. Better that you know before you find out through a mistake, or better hope your real estate advocate is knowledgeable. In this video, we're going to do 18 buyer tips, 7 seller tips. And I'm Randal Jenkins, Florida Real Estate Partners. Here's my phone number. You don't know what you don't know. You don't want to get your education from your mistakes. You need to make sure that your advocates have the experience through making those mistakes or through education. And as I said, this is only the beginning, and there are more to come. So in no particular order, let's go through the list. In a sale of a property, you're required to disclose information that you may not know. How is that even possible? When selling, the law says you must disclose if a property is contiguous to your property and if it's a settlement home. You have to disclose it, even if you don't know. It basically comes down to you should have known. In a purchase, if you don't let the seller know on the 30-day financing contingency limit, then you become a cash buyer. And if you don't understand this, you better not buy a property without understanding the main deadlines, and this is one of them. You cannot retail your home if it won't pass a 4-point inspection. You can sell it to a wholesaler, you can sell it to a cash buyer, and if your property fails the 4-point inspection and they walk, you have to disclose this to the next buyer. You should have, it says must, you should have a survey at the time of closing. Your title insurance will cover your boundaries. It'll cover your fence lines, but your survey will not be covered by title insurance if you don't have the survey as part of your closing. If you're selling your home, get the title policy at the beginning of the sales process. You're going to have 2 to 6 weeks to close on the property. Oftentimes there's minor, easy to fix title issues that you don't want to find out 3 days before closing that there's some lien or mislien that you could have easily fixed if you had time, and now you're under incredible pressure. This is a very interesting one. You know, they say, well, ask for 6% in closing fees. If you do, and they only allow you 3%, you effectively lose the 3% that you would have gotten. So always ask for the closing fees, ask for prepaids, and ask for a price reduction on anything that you weren't able to use. Get your full 6%. I can't tell you how many transactions I've done where I was the seller and we gave concessions and they didn't use them. And all they had to do was include the wording prepaids and or price reduction on their offer. Treat every document as if you'll have to defend it in court. Pull permit information on every home you view. The seller is not required to close out permits. All they have to do is give you notification of permits that are not closed out. All offers should include seller to close out open permits. And if they can't close it out, it's okay to buy these homes with open permits as long as you get a concession on the price. If you're not using these things as a bargaining chip, you're leaving money on the table. I lost a transaction recently because the tax assessed value was going to change. The $4,500 tax bill was going to go to $8,500. Now you're going to get a tax bill if you buy a home this year. It's going to come in November, and it's going to be based on the previous owner's tax situation, what they paid for the house and what the tax assessor has it as a tax assessed value. If you don't understand this, get on a Zoom call with me and let me show you how to pull this up, or maybe I'll do a video that shows this. I hear 2 horror stories in the last month about sewage lines. It'll cost you a couple, $300 or $400 to have the sewage line scoped on a home that you're considering buying. And I heard the story of a $15,000 sewer line and a $10,000 sewer line replacement. And if you're buying a 1970s home, it is likely that those sewer lines are cracked. And if they are, you can get a tremendous concession and maybe not even fix it. If it works fine, but it's cracked, you can still get that concession. Or you're going to find out that it's not only is it cracked, but there's roots growing into it, and you are going to have a problem. It might be that the house is, no one's lived in the house for a while and there's no issues with the toilet flushing. Or it might be that only 1 or 2 people were living in the home and you plan on having 4 or 5 people living in the home, and you do not want to have a $5 or $10 or $15,000 sewage line replacement right after you bought a home. If you're a buyer and you're getting a financing deal and you don't get the loan estimate in 3 days, you have a problem. A renovation loan will work on all homes, including move-in ready homes. Many buyers buy a home and they say, I'm going to put 50 grand into it afterwards and I'm going to fix it up. These repairs, upgrades, remodeling can be included in your long-term mortgage if you buy the home on a renovation loan. And by the way, if you don't know about this and you've never heard of this, you should call me. There are 4 main deadlines on a contract. And if you extend one deadline, which happens a lot that you'll extend a deadline, but always extend all of the deadlines when you extend one deadline. If you've watched my video on the 7 things you must do before you buy a home, one of them is, before the inspection period ends, is to walk around the neighbors and say, hey, I'm buying the home next door. I'm so excited. I just wanted to say hello. And what happens is they're going to tell you every dirty little secret about that neighborhood and about that home. And you can find out after you close, or you can use this one little trick to find out if there's a deal breaker while you still have a chance to walk. Now, there's a lot of investors going to look at this and go, no, no, no. But I'm telling you, a cash buyer should still get an appraisal. Leave the appraisal contingency in the contract. Use this as a way out. Use this as a way to renegotiate the price. If you spend $500 on an appraisal and you save thousands of dollars, well, that's a good thing. And by the way, let's say it appraises lower and you could not get a price reduction. It's still worth the effort. It's worth the risk. And you can still buy it even if it doesn't appraise. The listing agent works for the seller. If you don't understand what this means and you think that buying from the listing agent makes sense, then you haven't heard all the horror stories of people who have gone into these transactions without having anyone represent their best interests. And it's horrific. There are 8 ways to get more money for your home. Watch my video. There are 7 things you must do before you buy a home in Florida. And by the way, you don't have to do them, but it sure would be smart to do them. Sell your home in round numbers. $299,000 is a terrible number. If someone's shopping, they're going to look online and they're going to say, find me everything between $275,000 and $300,000. And the $299 home is going to show up on that list. But if someone says, find me a $300,000 home up to $325,000, that $299,000 home is not on the list. It would be the cheapest, most attractive home on the $300,000 to $325,000 list, but it's not there at all because of some misguided perception that $299,999. When I see those listings, I go, what a challenge that customer has, because somebody in this transaction does not understand how people search for homes on the internet. Now, I sell and I like and I enjoy vacant land. I do a lot of vacant land. I wish I did more, but vacant land on dirt roads means future paving liens. The county does not pave the roads. The county coordinates road paving, and then they put a lien on the properties that are on the road based on the number of feet. So if you buy a home on a corner lot of 2 unpaved roads, you could be looking at, I don't know, $30,000, $50,000, depending on how many feet it is, in future paving liens. So when I see people looking at $20,000 lots on dirt roads and they think there's a deal, compared to, say, a $50,000 lot on a paved road. It just means they don't understand the implications. Appraised values. So I just lost a listing to a guy whose home is 2,000 square feet. It's worth $200,000 all day long. He has an appraisal saying it's worth $400,000. It says it's worth it on his written appraisal that he bought. And I told him I couldn't sell it for $400,000. I said, it's worth it, but you can't sell it there because there were 27 homes that were better deals, that were comparable, that were between $350 and $375. Nobody's going to pay $400,000 for a home, even if it appraises there, when there are a lot of choices that are cheaper. And the idea that it's worth what it's appraised for, if you believe that, then, well, I didn't get the listing. People do not realize how many things are required to buy or sell a home and what order they should be done. There's a thing, 179 ways agents who are realtors are worth every penny of their compensation. And I'm not going to go through those. Oh, look at my numbers are out of order. There we go. Deed fraud. Okay, deed fraud occurs generally on homes without a mortgage. And I think there'll come a day when somebody's owned a home for 25 years and they own, less than 10% or less of what the home is worth. And you could have deed fraud. And if you don't understand what deed fraud is and how easy it is, never brag that your home is paid for. The public doesn't need to know. Your friends don't need to know. It's not smart business to brag about your home being paid for. Use a different title company on a flip and be sure the title companies use a different underwriter. So I have a horrible story. One of my mentors, smart guys, bought a house on the courthouse steps, flipped it to an investor. That investor turned around and sold it to another retail buyer. 2 transactions, 1 title company. There was a mistake. The first title company and the second title company were the same, and they both made a mistake. And when you sign a warranty deed, you are warranting that transaction. So if you have 2 transactions in a row, always use a different title company on the second transaction and make sure that those title companies use a different underwriter. I've done extensive discussions on just looking. If you're thinking about selling your home, you're kind of just looking at what it's worth. If you're thinking about buying a home, but you're not really shopping, you're just looking. And when you're just looking, you must look at the pendings, the solds, and the days on market to be fully informed. Watching the actives to follow the market is not watching the market. These prices are the overpriced dream prices that people have that they stick on there. Well, it's worth $400. I'm going to ask $420, and that way they can beat me up on price. So if you're watching the actives, you are watching the dreams, the overpriced dreams that sellers have, and that is not the market. And if you don't understand that, please reach out to me. If you've got a 322 block home in River Ridge, let me send you out the pendings and the solds. And further, if it's a retail deal and it'll go FHA, watch the FHA sales because the FHA sales are so much higher than the conventional or cash buyer transactions. Oh, wow. There we are. We're done. Okay, I'm Randal Jenkins. I own Florida Real Estate Partners. I've been doing real estate for over 24 years. I personally bought and sold over 675 homes. I mentor a number of agents. I am the go-to guy. If you have a really easy transaction and anybody can do it, you don't need me. But if you have a challenging situation and you want someone to look out for your best interests, please feel free to reach out to me. I came from the financial services industry where we have an obligation to do the best thing for our customers. And if you notice the name of my company, it's Florida Real Estate Partners. We're not some sales organization that's going to try to sell you something. In fact, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to talk you out of buying flood zones. We're going to talk you out of buying condominiums, because condominiums are out of control. And if you haven't followed the condominium market, I should do an hour on condominiums and condominium fees and just the ridiculousness of what's happened. My personal condominium that I live in, $350 a month on the HOA fee is now up to $815. It is waterfront and it is glorious, and I'll pay it. But the fact is that if you come to me and you want to buy a condominium, I'm going to introduce you to villas and townhouses. And if you want to buy in a flood zone, I'm going to show you how you could be as little as a mile away and save $400, $500 a month on flood insurance. And that number is going to go up. Anyway, Randal Jenkins, appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for watching my videos. If you like what you see and you want to get on my list, this is probably Facebook, but it could be YouTube. Like whatever you see and reach out for a phone call. I'm old. I like the phone. Appreciate the opportunity. Have a great day. Bye now.